Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Reliance Outfitters. What I'd like to do today is take the opportunity to go over another product with you from our Pathfinder lineup, and that is the Pathfinder Trail Tarp. This tarp comes in two different colors. It comes in this dark green and also a dark brown, whatever your color preference may be. It is a 7'8" by 7'8" actual tarp square configuration. Most people would call that 8 foot by 8 foot, and the material length, cut length, is 8 foot by 8 foot. But once you hem it down, it becomes 7 foot 8 inches by 7 foot 8 inches. So that's what we've got marked on the front of the bag. It has 19 tie-out points on that tarp to give you multiple choices for configuration depending on the seasonality and the weather at your chosen camping location. We're going to talk about the contents of this bag. We're going to talk about how to use this and why it's designed this way. We'll also talk about why I prefer square tarps over rectangle tarps. And then we'll talk about some simple considerations that you may want to carry and use with a tarp like this. So stay with me. Okay, so just to begin with the kit part of this tarp, right? We've taken it out of the bag. And if you notice, first off, the bag has a paracord cinch on it and a good slide lock. I was very insistent on that when we developed this product. All of these bags are fairly heavy duty. This is the bag that your ropes and stakes go into. It comes with 4 aluminum stakes, and this is really more for saving weight. If you've got soft ground, these will be fine. If you've got harder ground, you may want to change those stakes out for something else, or if you're looking at something even lighter, maybe go to titanium. All of the guy lines that come with this tarp are also 550 paracord. They have slide locks already built into them for your guy line, so you don't have to worry about tying a bunch of knots for locking your tarp lines off and making adjustments. The tarp itself weighs 1.7 pounds. The entire kit weighs 1.7 pounds. It's 70 denier material and waterproofed. The tie-outs, which it has 19, as we spoke earlier, are very, very heavily sewn tie-outs on here. So they're not gonna come out, they're not gonna rip when you're putting it under stress. And again, the bag the same way. Heavy duty bag with paracord closure. All of that rolls up inside. It does have the Pathfinder logo in one corner of the tarp here in white. The rest of it is the dark green. Okay, so 6 of these tie-outs come with your tarp. You do not get a ridge line with this tarp. You have to create your own version of the rapid deployment ridge line that you choose to use with your setups. But all 6 of these have slide locks on them so that you don't have to tie a bunch of knots to lock off stakes and things like that. Now the other end of this is just a seized piece of paracord. My suggestion is that you tie a double overhand stop knot in each one of these, which means you're going to tie a normal pretzel knot just like this, except you're going to go around the inside one more time and cinch it up to the top like this, which gives it some bulk at the bottom, and I'll show you why that's important later. And then we'll move our slide lock all the way to the other end, and we'll hank these up with just a small loop at the end. So once I get these lines set up the way I want them, and I've got a good secure double overhand stop knot here, I check to make sure that the knot on the other end is good and tight. This one doesn't feel like it is. So I'm gonna pull a little bit of cordage out here and tighten this knot down and stop knot on the other end really, really well. And then I'm going to pull enough loop out of here just to let me know I've got a loop right there and which end it's supposed to come from, because that's my slider loop that will allow adjustment. So I'm just gonna pull enough out of there. I know there's a loop there to put a stake in. I'm gonna drop that between 2 fingers. And then I'm going to wind it around in figure 8 fashion around my thumb and my pinky finger, just like this. And when I get some tail left on this thing, about a foot of tail, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pull the bundle off, and I'm going to always point the tail and the adjuster to the bottom, and I'm going to wrap up and away from that, this direction, toward the back. And when I get down to the very end, I'll just take and put a quick 1/2 inch in there to secure it off. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to pull from the front side, from the stake end, pull it all out, and it's not going to get tangled up. Okay, so most of the tarp configurations you're going to use are going to employ some type of ridge line, unless it's a single point system like a plow point. And the basic shelters that we teach here at the Pathfinder School are the plow point, the lean, the A-frame, and the fly, and then a raised bed configuration with no lashings. I'd like to take that a little bit further today and show you 2 or 3 other configurations of the tarp that are a little bit more complex, but they're also very, very versatile, and they're really good in different types of weather. So what we'll do is we'll employ this rapid deployment ridgeline between 2 trees. And the way the system is set up, and if you want to look at this video, it's on my personal channel at the Pathfinder School Worldwide on YouTube. But what this does is it allows you to set up a system that once you have it done, you virtually have to tie no knots after the fact. The knots are tied in the cordage, the toggles are attached, everything is permanent, and there's no knots to be relied on after the fact. They have to be tied quickly in an emergency scenario. So we'll walk through this as we set it up, but you can watch that video again on my channel. Okay, so the first shelter we're going to talk about is basically a high-low fly. It's got elements of an A-frame within it, but it's a fly because no corners are touching the ground. But it's high-low because one end is raised up away from the weather, and the other end is dropped down low so that weather gets caught coming into your shelter and doesn't rain inside, but at the same time, it has ventilation all the way around to give you airflow in the summertime. So what we're going to do with this rapid deployment ridgeline is we're going to pull a little bit of it out, and we're going to pull everything down away from us, keeping one toggle in our hand. We're going to wrap this around and take this toggle, pinching it, and just stick it inside that bowline loop that we have and cinch it down. And that's a self-tightening lock at that point that can't go anywhere, but it's very easy to get it undone. We put that at the height we want it for the front of our shelter, which for me would be a little bit higher than waist level, or right between waist and chest, okay? And that's where we'll start. Now we go to the other tree. Okay, so when we come to the other end and we go around the tree low, we're going to have the toggle against the stop knot. And we're going to bring this prusik with us down this line so that you can use it for a tensioning loop on this line. We'll then take our toggle, we'll put it through the prusik loop just like this and draw down. Now we didn't have to tie any knots whatsoever. We already had our prusik loop on the line. We already had our toggle on the line. Stop knot was already on the other end. We're good. Now we can fly our tarp. Okay, one easy method to connect a tie-out point is basically with an arbor knot. So we can just come over this and tie an overhand pretzel knot here, backing up our stop knot. Come through our tie-out point with the other tail and parallel the line coming out just like this. When we pull that down or pull this forward, either one, it's going to lock down on itself and pull that together. And then we can stretch that tarp from one end to the other. When we need it undone, it's as simple as pulling these 2 tails apart and it comes loose all by itself. So again, it's a very simple connection. We take one tail and we put it through the tie-out point. We take the other tail, we tie an overhand pretzel knot in it just like this. And all we need to make sure that we do is bring this knot parallel to the other one, just like this. And so when we tighten that up, it's going to collapse on itself, just like that. Okay, so if we are going to fly this tarp, in other words, keep our corner off the ground. If we have all 4 corners off the ground, we're flying the tarp. So we're gonna need to connect a line to that. And we've got these 6 tie-out lines. All we need to do is, again, now that we've hanked it up, pull it from the stake point side, straight out, and it will come undone, just like this, without tangles, okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to take this rope and we're going to connect it to this tie-out point. Again, there's lots of different ways you could do that. Come straight through your tie-out point with the knot, come around the back side and drop it through, just like this. That's going to give you basically a sheep bend on the line, okay? Again, it's not going to be very hard to get that undone when the time comes. Okay, so with this configuration, we have the entire shelter leaning backwards. It's called the high-low fly. It's higher on this end and lower on that end. We've pulled all of our stakes at a 45-degree angle from center, which stretches out the tarp and forces everything down one plane if it does start to rain and we get weather in here. The important thing is the high end is away from the weather, so that if a driving rain comes in, it's on the low end of your shelter or at the foot end of your shelter, and it's not going to drown you out. But you have maximum airflow around the underside in hot, damp, humid weather like we have here in Ohio today, where you don't want to trap dead airspace if you can possibly help it. You want the maximum amount of convection you can get. You never get this cat out of the foam.
Never?
Never. The cat is always into film.
He's okay. He's okay.
Okay, so what we got going on here is a pyramid style tent made with the Pathfinder Scout tarp. And my buddy from Italy, Luciano, came over here this week to take a couple classes. And he kind of brought this shelter over here. We were messing around with this tarp today. And he was showing me this. I think it's a good system for extreme weather. If you've got a heavy rain coming or something like that, it's pretty easy to set this up. You have to have one pole, but a lot of people carry trekking poles with them. So you need one pole, and 3 of the 4 stakes that are with the system can make this tent very quick and easy. And you have to enter this tent from the front. You got a big opening here you have to get inside of to crawl in. But once you're inside, you just drape it over the top, and it'll close you in on all 4 sides. I'm gonna walk through this with you with Luciano. We'll set it up again and show you what it looks like. I think this will be a good shelter for you guys to understand with this Pathfinder tarp. Okay, so we've got this tarp laid out on the ground in a square. And Luciano has staked out 2 of the corners straight across and taut. And that leaves us the front end unstaked to be used to make the rest of this shelter. And now basically what you need to do is you need to take the front end of this, where you've got the 2 corners, and meet those corners up just like this, pulling those away at an even angle, so you make a triangle basically with these 2 corners, and stake those to the ground. That leaves you the opening here that you can crawl inside of to put your trekking pole and adjust it straight up. Okay. So you can see how he's flapped this over the front. So to get into the shelter, you have to open this opening up and basically step over those 2 stakes to get inside. And then you can just fold over with your arm just like this, and you're good. Now, you've got this stake to the ground out here. If you pull one corner out of the ground, this is an easy way to transition this from one shelter to another. So in a heavy rain, you could transition to this. When the rain stops, you could transition to a more open shelter. So by unstaking one corner and bringing that up, if we tie this out high, it now becomes a plow point. To do that, all we need to do is take our ridge line on the tree here, put it up high enough, slide our prusik loop down, hook our prusik loop directly to this fly, just like we did before, with the same exact knot. Very, very simple. Come through and attach, tie down. And then all we have to do is pull this up. And now we've transitioned this to a large plow point that the cat's hiding inside of here. But now we've went from that pyramid style shelter that was completely closed to something that's much more open that we can put fire in front of, like a large plow point. Okay guys, so there was 3 setups that you can use this tarp for that are a little bit different than we normally show at the school, a little bit different than we normally show on videos and things like that. One of them brought over here by my buddy Luciano from Italy, that we can transition to another shelter like a plow point that's fairly easy. The only addition we made to these shelters was we had a trekking pole in there that could have been substituted for a stick. And remember that any place you've got a high point in that tarp, like in the center, you could also have just ran a ridge line through that and suspended the center from the ridge line. Or if you had an overhanging tree, you could throw over the top of that and suspend the center of that by pulling it up against a tree in a trucker's hitch fashion. So there's lots of ways that you can utilize that tarp. And the fact that it has 19 tie-outs on it makes it very versatile for lots and lots of setups. I think that we've provided everything in this kit that you need except a ridge line. I think that's kind of a personal thing. People like to develop their own ridge lines. So you can look at all the ridge line system videos out there from everybody who makes videos on those things and decide which one you like the best and make a ridge line for yourself with a simple 30 feet of paracord. Makes it pretty simple and dirty. But I wanted to show you this Pathfinder trucker's tarp today. Again, it comes in two colors. It comes in dark brown and dark green. You get it on our website at selfrelianceoutfitters.com, and it comes with 6 tie-out ropes, comes with 4 aluminum stakes, comes with a stake bag, comes with a tarp bag. All of them are set up in 550 cord to make it nice and durable for you out in the woods. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our business, and I'll be back with another video in this series as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.